Necromancer, did the spirits call you here?
Death's minions threaten to overwhelm the living, so they must be culled. This beacon will draw many of Death's soldiers here, to their demise. I was about to activate it.
Ready yourself for battle. I will trigger it.
When Diablo 3 originally launched, it was taken a bit of a mixed bag by the community that loved the game's series. It got slated very heavily for the choices that it made, but that didn't stop it selling by the absolute truck ton. So it was inevitable that we were going to see an expansion for it. That expansion launched this month, and that was Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls. Now the obvious first question is going to be, has Blizzard done enough with this expansion to make up for the mistakes they made with the original release? However, where we will start is the pre-expansion patch, patch 2.0.1. They released this about a month before the expansion, and it made some very drastic changes to the game's dynamics. One of the biggest things it did was get rid of the incredibly controversial auction house system and included an alternative loot generation system that got referred to as Loot 2.0. What this means is that these changes are even available to players that don't buy the expansion. One of the biggest problems levelled at the game was the lack of things to do once the player hit level cap. Now, in the original release, there was only the level 60 level cap. They later added the Paragon System. Again, the Paragon System was a good idea, but it lacked finesse. So, in patch 2.0.1, they gave it a heavy redesign. The caps that were previously on it have been removed. The locking of Paragon to individual characters is removed. It's now a system that is limitless and account-wide. This will give people a reason to keep playing the game and a reason to keep going back. For me, however, the biggest change was the redesigned Loot 2.0 system. To cut it down to its core change was the fact that they've made loot drop less often, which would sound like a bad thing. However, at the same time, they have made the loot that will drop of a higher quality. As a result, this means it will be more common for you to find upgrades that are interesting again, so you will be having to take trips to the market less to flog useless stuff that you don't need. The other thing they're trying to do is bring back more of the build-changing elements in legendaries and sets. These can range from removing costs from certain skills or causing others to auto-trigger on key events. This can cause you to consider what your current character build is and how you continue onwards with the game. But as I've said, all of this is available without the expansion itself, which is very good on Blizzard's part, and should help convince some of the people who are in two minds about buying the expansion. To bring this back to the expansion then, let's start with the story. The story picks up at the end of Diablo 3, where we've killed Diablo, all the great evils are trapped within the Black Soulstone, and, well, what are you going to do with an artifact that dangerous? It can't stay in heaven, it can't go down to hell. That means that the only option left is for Tyrael, the aspect of justice, to try and hide it away somewhere. Now, this is Diablo, this is Sanctuary, we know just how well that's going to go. However, he tries anyway, and in the process of trying to hide it, he is ambushed by the former Archangel of Wisdom, Malthael. Unfortunately, Malthael is now calling himself the Angel of Death. But why would an angel want something as dark and evil as the Black Soulstone? Well, it turns out that while he's been wandering the realm of Sanctuary, he's gone a bit mad. He's come up with a plan to end the war between heaven and hell once and for all. However, that plan involves wiping out all demon souls using the Black Soulstone. That in itself doesn't sound like too bad a plan, until you factor in that the humans living on Sanctuary are the descendants of both angels and demons, and Malthael has no plans to differentiate between that and a full-blown demon. This is where your character returns again to do what he does best and save the day at the last minute. So aside from the continuation story and the patch to fix broken gameplay elements that came before the expansion, what have they actually added in the expansion? Personally, I think they have stuck a little too close to the generic expansion playbook. All the usual things that you would expect are there. There's a level cap increase, a new top level skills, new extra skill slots, a new artisan to customise your gear, new items to discover. But aside from these generic niceties, there are a couple of new elements that need to be covered. The first is a new class, and that comes in the form of the Crusader. Now, the Crusader is a very strong, very defense-based class that makes use of shields, previously a completely pointless item in the game, and heavy weapons. As well as being able to use them to give enemies a very hefty whack on the noggin, they also have a raft of holy-based spells. These range from the abilities to call down lightning from the heavens, to blind the enemies with holy light, and to consecrate the very ground that you're walking on. Overall, the design of this class feels really balanced and really solid, and what actually helps it even more is that it fits within the theme of Reaper of Souls very, very well. The other big thing that they've added is probably a lesson learnt from their previous release of this game, and is designed to give players more to do after the storyline is completed. They have added something referred to as Adventure Mode. Now, Adventure Mode will allow you to go into any of the previous areas of the game and do a series of mini-quests or bounties. These mini-events could range from simple things like clear this dungeon, hunt down this elite, do this event in a certain amount of time, attack this boss that we've changed his abilities. None of this is deviating too far from the original game, but it just feels a little more challenging and a bit more frantic to have time limits and have small caps on it. What is good about this is that it's all taking part in the 5 main chapters of the game, which allows you to go back and re-explore some of the areas without having to restart the story. They will also allow you to access Nephilim Rifts, which are completely randomised dungeons that can use the styling of any area of the game, and it makes them very interesting to explore, in my opinion. Obviously, they are also meant to be a challenge, and they are, and they do have appropriate rewards as a result. So to bring this back round to the original question, which was, have they made up for the mistakes of the original game? In a way, yes, but at the same time, no. Yes, in that they have learned a lot of the lessons that they needed to. Many of the rough edges that they had in the first version have been smoothed out and fine-tuned. They've also added a decent amount of new stuff to give you a reason to keep playing the game. However, no, on the grounds that the changes that they've made, while needed, are merely incremental fixes. And as good as the new content is, it's not exactly pushing the boat out. What also adds a further downer on this fact is that they are charging a full price for this expansion. In the UK, Reaper of Souls could cost you as much as £35, plus another £20 for the original if you don't already have it. This is just a little too high in my opinion. To wrap this up then, it's not going to completely appease all the fans that were frustrated by the original. But on the whole, it is a competent expansion, and Blizzard do earn some points for having proved they will still listen to and respond to complaints. If you can find it at a decent price, then it is definitely worth picking up. Otherwise, I'd say wait for the PS4 version.